There is a book that claims to answer the greatest questions ever posed by humanity: the origin of the universe, the meaning of life, and the destiny of our species. It describes a vast cosmology, details interdimensional beings, and outlines a new understanding of God. But this book was not written by a conventional author. It is said to have been dictated by intelligences from higher realms, beyond human comprehension. The book is called the Urantia Book, a mysterious text that has intrigued theologians, philosophers, scientists, and spiritual seekers for decades. What is in this book that causes so much fascination and controversy? Who really wrote it, and could it possibly hold the key to understanding the universe itself? To understand the origins of this enigmatic work, we must go back to Chicago in the early 20th century. There, a well-known psychiatrist named Dr. William Sadler was confronted with a highly unusual case. A man whose identity remains unknown began speaking in his sleep, using a sophisticated vocabulary and expressing deeply philosophical and cosmological ideas. Far beyond his normal intellectual capacity, Dr. Sadler, known for his skepticism toward spiritualist phenomena, became increasingly intrigued as the man continued delivering these articulate discourses while unconscious. Even more puzzling, the man had no memory of any of it. Upon waking, this bizarre phenomenon soon caught the attention of Sadler's circle of colleagues and friends. Forming what would later become known as the Urantia Forum, they began documenting the transmissions, posing questions, and receiving extensive answers from voices that claimed to be celestial personalities. These beings described themselves as part of a vast hierarchy of spiritual orders governing the universe. Over time, the messages took on the form of a structured manuscript, organized like chapters in a divine textbook. The group began to suspect they were receiving not merely inspired writings, but a revelation. After years of compiling these transmissions, the forum concluded that the material needed to be published, but this would not be just another book. They believed it was a sacred text meant to usher humanity into a new spiritual era. In 1955, the Urantia Foundation released the Urantia Book. It was divided into 4 major parts: a discourse on the nature of universal reality, the structure of the cosmos and spiritual beings, the history and development of Earth, and an unprecedented narrative of the life of Jesus Christ. What makes this book so mysterious is not only its origin, but its sheer depth. It presents cosmological models and philosophical insights that seem far ahead of their time. Some concepts even anticipate scientific developments that would only be discovered decades later. Unlike other channeled texts, such as A Course in Miracles or the Spirit's Book, the Urantia Book has no known author. Even the identity of the sleeping subject remains a secret. This deliberate anonymity deepened the sense of enigma. Was this a sophisticated psychological experiment? Perhaps an extraordinary product of the unconscious mind, or something more transcendent? Supporters of the book argue that its internal consistency and rich detail make it highly unlikely to have been fabricated. Its language, structure, and philosophical coherence seem too refined to be the product of delusion or fraud. Skeptics, however, view it as an elaborate literary project born from a group of intellectuals or idealists. But both sides agree on one thing: the book's content challenges every conventional boundary of thought, according to the Urantia Book. Our universe is not a chaotic accident, but an intricately organized and purposeful system. Earth, which it calls Urantia, is just one of billions of inhabited worlds within a vast evolutionary plan. At the center of all existence is Havona, a perfect and eternal universe that serves as the dwelling place of the Universal Father, the Supreme Source. Of all things, circling Havona are 7 superuniverses, each containing billions of evolving worlds. Earth resides in the 7th of these, called Orvanton. The book explains that within this enormous structure exists a spiritual government composed of various orders of beings' creator sons, planetary princes, Melchizedeks, seraphim, and others. These beings oversee the functioning and development of the cosmos. Humanity, in this view, is in its infancy. Earth is seen as a young and troubled planet, still recovering from a cosmic rebellion led by a being named Lucifer. This rebellion severed Earth's connection to the broader cosmic system, leaving it in a state of spiritual quarantine. The Lucifer rebellion, as described in the book, was not a mere myth or metaphor, but a real cosmic event that disrupted the spiritual communication lines between earth and higher orders. This echoes certain religious traditions, but reinterprets them in a larger evolutionary context. Evil, in this sense, is not an eternal force, but a temporary error, a detour in the journey toward perfection. Central to each human being is what the book calls a thought adjuster, a divine fragment of God that resides within the mind. This inner presence is responsible for guiding the soul towards spiritual maturity and eventual union with the divine. Every experience, choice, and act of love or wisdom draws a person closer to this goal. The soul's journey does not end at death, but continues through a process of ascension, across various levels of existence until final fusion with God is achieved. This framework has remarkable parallels with traditions found in Buddhism, Hermeticism, and other mystical schools, though the Urantia Book presents these ideas with an unprecedented level of detail. It describes the stages of ascension, the types of beings one may encounter, and even the environments of post-mortal existence. The cosmos, according to this vision, is a living organism, ordered and intelligent, where everything serves a divine purpose. One of the most striking sections of the book is its account of the life of Jesus. Unlike the brief and selective accounts found in the canonical Gospels, the Urantia Book provides a comprehensive biography from birth to death. It includes his childhood experiences, adolescent struggles, global travels, and intimate personal thoughts. Jesus, in this narrative, is not just a moral teacher or prophet, but a creator's son who chose to incarnate on earth to gain first-hand experience of human life. His mission, as told by the book, was not to die for humanity's sins, but to live as the perfect example of divine alignment. His crucifixion was not part of a divine plan, but a tragic consequence of human misunderstanding. The book rejects the doctrine of original sin and sacrificial atonement, arguing instead that spiritual evolution is achieved through personal experience and alignment with truth. Jesus, therefore, did not come to establish a religion or church, but to show humanity how to live in communion with the divine. Fragment within, this depiction challenges the foundations of traditional Christianity, rather than seeing Jesus as a savior who demands worship. He is portrayed as a cosmic guide and elder brother who came to demonstrate the path of divine realization. It suggests that his true teachings were quickly distorted after his death, institutionalized into rigid systems that obscured his original message of love, freedom, and inner divinity. What are the implications if this version is true? For starters, it redefines the purpose of life, the role of religion, and the structure of the universe. It invites us to see ourselves not as fallen beings in need of redemption, but as ascending souls on an eternal journey. It places the responsibility of spiritual growth not in rituals or clergy, but in personal awakening and moral development. Each individual becomes their own temple, their own priest, their own path to God. Despite its lofty claims, the Urantia Book remains outside mainstream acceptance. It is not taught in seminaries, not quoted in political speeches, and not recognized by institutional religions. Why? Possibly because it bypasses the need for religious intermediaries. It threatens hierarchies by proposing a direct relationship between every soul and the divine source. It shifts the foundation of authority from external institutions to internal realization. And yet, for those who deeply study it, the book offers a transformation in consciousness. Readers report profound awakenings, expanded understanding, and a sense of purpose that traditional systems fail to provide. It appeals not to blind faith, but to reasoned inquiry, personal reflection, and experiential truth. Whether the Urantia Book is a divine revelation or a brilliant philosophical work is still up for debate, but its message remains powerful. It tells us that we are part of a much larger story, that our lives are not accidents, and that the universe itself is a sacred process. It insists that within each of us is a divine spark waiting to be realized. Perhaps the true test of its authenticity lies not in proving its origin, but in the lives it transforms and the questions it dares us to ask. In the end, it is not merely about believing in a book. It is about awakening to a reality that transcends our current limitations. Whether fact or fiction, the Urantia Book challenges us to think bigger, to live more consciously, and to embrace the possibility that we are far more than we have ever been told.